everybody out there in the YouTube world, the Spurs 2 world. This is Spurs After Dark, coming to you well before dark here on the East Coast of the USA. And I've got Brian Daigle from Tottenham on tour here with me. Thanks for coming, Brian.
It's a pleasure, Ken. It's a long time since I've been on your channel, mate. Love spending time with you. And I have to say, hearing that intro music, I just thought I was in a jazz cafe with my wife back in Toronto. I was probably having a little, so yeah, loving that music. But yeah, it's always a pleasure, Kieran.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was kind of going for with that. So let me know in the comments if you dig the music. But we'll have even more stuff coming on that front coming up. But I mean, let's just get right into it. So why am I up this early in the morning doing a stream? You might ask. Well, it's because there's been a lot of stuff in the media coming out regarding Tottenham Hotspur over the last 24 hours. Some stuff I honestly find shocking. Seeing journalists who are typically quite restrained in their writing about problems at the club and who might be to blame for said problems at the club, really starting to just let fly on Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and the board and Daniel Levy for the decisions that have been made. I think the loss in the North London derby really served as kind of the lifting of the rock to show all the critters crawling underneath. All the problems are now being exposed in the media, and yeah, it looks like Tottenham has yet another PR disaster on their hands. Um, Brian, have you seen many of the headlines over the last 24 hours? Read many of the articles that have been coming out?
So obviously I'm back home now, so it's a lot more easily accessible for me via the channels we have here, and obviously my time zone is completely in sync with everything going on. After the Arsenal game, I was, as you can imagine, I was not in the best of moods, as we all weren't. But obviously, whereas a lot of people are having their anger at the players and the manager, and rightly so, mine obviously goes to, as we know, to a much higher power within the organisation, within the club. And I can't believe I use that word organisation now to talk about my football club. Organisation, that's a horrible word to mention, but that's what it is right now. So Bob Spur and I, because we spent the weekend together, it was the first time we met. He came down to London and stayed with me and my parents, or at my parents, I say. So we were on a stream till about 2 o'clock in the morning, went to bed. Then we drove up to where Bob lives because my best mate lives near, so I'm at my best mate's. So I hadn't heard a lot what was going on yesterday. But what I did promote, and we'll talk about it later on, was another Levy Out channel that we're growing, or not channel, that's the wrong word, group that I'm part of, and we're on Twitter and everything. And we had a clear statement. I don't know if any of your fans watched the Irish Hotspur, but I did a huge stint on it yesterday regarding this, which we'll get into. So I woke up this morning, sorry, this is where I'm getting at, and I saw my phone was going crazy because obviously the Supporters Trust has come out today. All of a sudden, and said we want answers, blah, blah, blah. Now, coincidental? I don't think so. A few weeks before the protests? Come on. And with these movements growing and the performances, but unfortunately, I believe that group should be called the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Non-Trust, because they pipe up, they do these things, and then they disappear. Oh, we've sent an email. Woohoo, we want the demands. We want to know, like you wanted to know the Super League, like you wanted someone on the board, like you've always wanted something, and then it doesn't happen. So it's kind of like when Daniel Levy says we're going for a Martinez or a Tomiyasu, but then obviously we know it's all talk, and then nothing. And that's my feelings, and that's my feelings alone on what the Supporters Trust does at the moment for the right things that we want. So you showed me a picture today just now before we came on, which just
and let me go ahead and bring that up while we're mentioning it. So I am going to show some of the articles that have come up and some of the things that are being mentioned in the press. But this is a screenshot from a season ticket holder. I received this email from the club today. And obviously that's a season ticket holders, and all One Hotspur members can now purchase up to 5 additional tickets for a match against Aston Villa this weekend. That's you know that's a pretty damning image right there. That means a lot of people are putting their tickets up on the exchange, or are not looking to come to the game, and they're not selling those those uncommitted tickets as well. So
It's
that's
not
not a
just
good
that,
look.
what this is as well is, I don't know if you had your channel or were part of the YouTube in streaming when this was going on with the season ticket renewals.
Yeah,
They've got up to about 30,000 people on the waiting list. I mean, as in number 30,000, saying, "Hey, we've actually got season tickets available," because people are turning them down. So we knew some people were like, "Right, I'm not investing money in the club anymore." And I feel really, really sorry for people that have given up their season tickets, because some people have had it for generations. And I do mean generations. And they've had to give up because of what they want with this guy out. Um, and then obviously, one of my friends, very good friends from back from London, actually messaged me yesterday going, "It's a shame you're up north, because there's loads and loads and loads and loads of tickets available for Thursday's night games." Now, there have been planned boycotts and people say, "Right, you know what, we need to hit at the wallet." And all right, if there's loads of tickets available, even if it's season ticket holders not going, they've already got the money. But what it is showing is people don't want to see this. People are now
yeah,
starting to say, "Right, I get this now. The only way we can make change, or the way we can make them listen, or drive them out, is by cutting them off of the money." And for them to say up to 5 tickets per season ticket holder, or one Hotspur member, well, that speaks huge volumes. Huge volumes.
yeah. And do you think, Brian, it might not only be just people who are saying, in order to get things to change, I have to stop going. But it might even be some of the people who aren't necessarily Levy out or Big Enoch out people who
Yep,
just go to the game to enjoy it with their friends and family,
yep.
have a good time on the weekend. There are probably plenty of people like that who may not be super fanatical football fans, but just are realizing that this isn't fun anymore. This isn't good for my mental health or whatever, because you know with the pandemic, everything that's been going on, people need a release, and football is that for so many people, and especially with fans allowed back in the stands. But to come back into the stands and be greeted with this kind of performance, this kind of football, you know it could be a lot
So,
of those
Kieran,
fans as well who are deciding it's not worth it.
I'm so happy you brought this subject up. I really, really am, because I went on. I think you did see this. I went on about this in great thing. Um, One of the ways, like I said, I spoke about the corporate. I'm going to tie it into exactly what you said. With the corporate people, a lot of people use Tottenham Hotspur, not just Tottenham Hotspur, all football stadia and all sporting events as a major thing to wine and dine clients, whether it be to sign them, to keep them sweet, whatever. And they pay the big, 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 big bucks to have this luxury that they can afford for their clients. Now, if they start doing this and all they hear is boo, boo, leave you out, or whatever, and the football's not bad, the corporate people are going to turn around and say, "Well, this isn't a fun experience for my clients. I'm losing clients over this. Guess what? I'm not going to be coming." And then you look at what you're saying now, like you said, and after this pandemic that has wiped the world like we've never seen it before, like in our lifetimes, um, football for a lot of people, and I'm talking men, women, boys, girls, senior citizens, people of different religions, race, gender, sexuality. Football is the biggest release in the world to them, and they didn't have it for that whole COVID time, and it affected not just the pandemic, affected everyone's mental health, and rightly so, as always going to, but not being able to do what you love also affects it. And like you said, and it is coming to a point. It's like I've had to leave a few Twitter groups, like big groups, like I think you're in a few of the couple of them, where I'm just like, "Do you know what? I can't, because it's so, oh, it's leave you in, but leave you out, leave you in, but yeah, sitting on, and it just doesn't. I can't deal with it. So I've had to distance myself, because, as we know, I can get quite volatile, quite erratic with my rants, or my and I don't mean to be. I don't think I've come across personal, but I don't want to do it, because that's not what it is. So it affects your mental health. And I think there's people there
Yeah.
genuinely, like, do you remember when Arsenal started doing it to get Wenger out? They started saying, right, I'm not coming to. And I think it is getting to that point, unfortunately, where people are like, why am I travelling? You look at people like Bob Spur, you look at people like Holly, who
Yeah.
travel to about 2-3 hours from north and south, respectively, to get to the games. And that's
Yeah.
just to get there. Then they have to watch this. Then they have to go back, and then they have work the next day. Or even so, it's going to affect you. It's going to come to the point like, can I be bothered to go and watch something that you know what? It's not even that we're playing rubbish. It's the football is so boring. It's so,
Yeah.
and people are like, I just don't. So this could be a huge part, but this is why we've got to look at the bigger picture as well. It is affecting people, not just the owners of what's going on, but it's seeping down. And like you said, this could be a huge reason. Mental health, the way we're playing, uh, the people don't even want to go to the game. The club are coming out and saying, well, you can now buy 5 tickets. And I just hope, you see, there's a lot of people, and I don't blame it. If I wasn't so Levy out, I would have seen this as the perfect opportunity to take my nephews to their first game.
Yeah.
Because how often do you get that chance to take little kids or be, even if you've got a friend that's come over from a different, like if you were over, Kieran, right now, and I said, oh, look, you're going to want to do it because you can give someone that experience. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I mean, if people are over here and they can get the experience, then I don't blame them for that. That's once in a lifetime stuff. But I'm hoping it's not going to come to that. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's just a huge amount of empty seats.
And so one of the things you mentioned, Brian, about the football, um, we were talking about this on Will Stewart Thfc Rants, his late night stream after the game on Sunday. At the end of last season, the last home game in the match program, you've referenced this. Daniel Levy comes out and says, "We understand the importance of hiring a manager who reflects the DNA," and that we get tired of hearing that word, the DNA of our club, which is progressive, open, attacking, free flowing football.
Yep.
So so he says that, and then goes to hire director of football, which I think the majority of fans have been, regardless of whether you're Levy in or Levy out or Enoch in, Enoch out, have been crying out for somebody else to take over the footballing decisions at the club and take them out of Daniel Levy's hands. But the director of football he goes out and gets is one that does not fit the profile of the football club at all. So for one, Levy's mantra has always been we have to sell to buy, and we also have to buy young so we can sell high later on. Buying for the future, buying on potential, and then he goes out and gets the director of football from Juventus, who up until recently had dominated Serie A for almost a decade with no real competition for most of the clubs around them.
Yeah.
Just splashing ridiculous amounts of money in the transfer market on big name players. Bringing in the Higuains, the Ronaldos, these kinds of players that Tottenham is never going to go for.
Oh, we'll
And
go
not
to them.
only
We just
that,
never get them.
oh yeah, well,
We'll be rumored to be going
yeah,
to them. We're just
that
never
that
coming.
exactly. That depends on how much credence you give to the various links we have in the media all the
Exactly.
time. But yeah, players we never have a chance of acquiring. But also beyond that, he's coming from the Italian league, which is known for its defensive play. Um, and there have been stories coming out in the media over the last few weeks that have been alluding to the possibility that Paratici might have wanted a defensive manager all along from the time he was hired, which of course, would be a complete contradiction to what Levy put in the program. So yet he goes away ahead and hires him anyway. I mean, you would assume this had to have come up in conversation. So either Paratici lied to get the job, or thought he could pull one over on Levy because he realizes how little Daniel Levy actually understands football and football tactics, or Levy just in the end said, "Well, it doesn't really matter that much," you know.
Yeah,
If the fans don't like it, this guy will take the heat anyway.
yeah. So all I'm saying is that if I was going to do a role play, and I'm thinking like you want to play attacking, expansive, attractive, attacking football, and your mindset is to have a manager that will do that. Play youth because we're big on our youth and building for the future, and can find players and make them better. I don't care who you are. The first name that should pop into your head is Ten Hag. The
Yeah,
very first name, whether you say, oh, it's the Dutch league or whatever, but if you look at what this guy and other Ajax managers done throughout their career, this is the Ajax way. This is the Ajax way. They don't deviate from it. It's a known fact. So apparently we went for, or we did go for him. He was the first pick, and then he has the audacity to say he didn't do well in the interview process. Well, I'm sorry. I don't kind of understand the manager's job interview. I mean, I can understand where you're saying, okay, I want this much to spend. This is what I can do with it. But when you say he didn't come across well in an interview, his interview is every Saturday or whatever game day is on the pitch and how
exactly,
they play.
exactly.
Do you know what? You could have a person with severe difficulties in learning difficulties and that can't speak well, but put him with the players and they could shine. You know, there's people like that that don't really talk. They're very introvert, but if you give them, there's of all kind of other ways. There's other ways. You know what I mean? It's the interview between a man like you and me having an interview here. This shouldn't dictate whether I'm a good football manager or not. If I was Ten Hag, it'd be
Yeah,
like, okay, you've won league titles. You did the incredible when we beat them in the semi-final. You have brought through a load of talent. You've sold them high. The football is outstanding. That's what I mean. What he was summing up in that press conference or that statement on the last game of the season, every single word of that for the managerial thing screamed Ten Hag.
yeah.
Screamed Ten Hag. So that was the first, and that's the one I really wanted over the Contes, the Poch, whatever. But we know that was
Well,
rubbish.
and I would have liked Ten Hag as well, but then enter Fabio Paratici. He gets the job, and we're in the at that point we were in negotiations with Paulo Fonseca to possibly be the new manager. And not I wouldn't say he's as progressive as a Ten Hag, nor is he as accomplished as a manager. You know, because I mean, despite what he did in the Ukraine, the Dutch league is quite a bit stronger than the
Yeah,
Ukrainian league. Although he, not to take away too much from his time at Shakhtar, because he had great performances with them in the Champions League, including beating Pep's Manchester City. But so we were in negotiations with Fonseca at the time, and uh, at the time, rumors came out that it was about tax law in Italy versus the UK and stuff like that. Why it didn't work out, but recently There's been an article that's come out from the Athletic, in which Paulo Fonseca was interviewed about his interview for the Spurs job, and he basically said that Fabio Paratici didn't believe in his style of football and wanted a more defensive coach, a more pragmatic coach um, than Paulo Fonseca, and that's why he didn't get the job. Not anything to do with taxes or whatever crap was in the media at the time, but it was about the style of play. And Scott, thanks for tuning in. Always tune in. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, it makes no sense as a hire for Fabio Paratici was not a good fit for this football club from the beginning. I had concerns when he was hired, but I wanted to give him the chance, the benefit of the doubt. I was not satisfied with the transfer window whatsoever. And Nuno, I also wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, but I wasn't convinced with his hiring as well.
So what I want to talk
But
about, like,
the
obviously,
biggest,
sorry, Ken, I
uh,
was just about to say
uh,
we've dissected the appointment of or the lack of a Ten Hag. And then I was going to come on to, like you just spoken to, we're going to play that kind of role play game again. Now, when I'm looking for a director of football, when you have this model of buying, like you said, buying young, buying cheap, and selling high, does that scream a guy that bought Ronaldo, Higuain, and also has worked at Juventus, like I said, that had little competition and could also guarantee you a title charge every single year, plus Champions League every year? Or does the model sound like Louis Campos,
Louis
who
Campos,
has an
exactly.
actual job of finding young players for cheap and selling them for astronomical amounts? Now, whether you agree with that kind of format, and I hate the fact that we are a team that buy young with the first thought that if it doesn't work out, how much can I sell them for? That's like the wrong way to do things. So the two appointments, before we even get to Nuno, Ten Hag fits everything that parasite said in the statement, and everything that the club apparently stands for under this parasite, Louis Campos. But because it's Daniel Levy and because he knows best and because he knows everything about football and everything in life, we're going to go first of all for Nuno. For Jose. After scouting him for 20 years and not knowing what he does, obviously he comes, spends hundreds of millions, gets trophies, turns the place toxic, leaves. But it's okay, we do that. And then we come on to Nuno. Nuno was the 10th choice. That's how bad it's got.
Yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, one of the biggest and greatest names in English history, in European football, got their 10th managerial choice. And not only that, when you get Paratici in and you say he is going to be in charge of footballing decisions and incomings and outgoings, why have we not got Tomiyasu? Do you think he would bat? Do you think he used to haggle ridiculously over 2 million in Juventus when he was signing Ronaldo for God knows how much as a signing fee, and let alone his wages? The amount it's just crazy.
On the Tomiyasu thing, I mean, I don't know if this is for sure the case, and I don't want to just play defense for Paratici or Levy unnecessarily. But it is possible that the negotiations dragged on for one reason or another. It is possible that they intended to still purchase him after by the first game of the season, but because of Tanganga was originally supposed to go on loan for the season,
Yep.
because of his and this is recorded as well. This has been reported in the media that because of Tanganga's performance against Manchester City, they decided not to send him out on loan, and then also because of that, possibly could have decided to pass on Tomiyasu in favor of going for a more attacking right back, seeing as Tanganga being the defensive right back option that they wanted. And then we end up
I'm
with
with you.
Emerson Royale.
I'm with you with
But
that, but
the
we spent more.
principle
We spent
remains.
more on Tomiyasu. We spent more on Royale than we did Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
And the other point with this is, well, Tanganga did very, very well, and that's understandable. He did. Let's not be about it, but she was superb against Man City. Superb. But what's the problem with having two great, great, great right backs?
Well,
When Man U won the treble, they had Sheringham, Solskjaer, Cole, and York. Four great strikers, but there was only two positions. So then, obviously, when Crystal Palace Tanganga gets sent off, we have to play Royale. But what's the point? You're
yeah.
meant to build when you're strong. When you have a great right back or potential great right back who's had a great performance, bring in another great one so he can learn from him, so they can have regular competition to keep them on their toes. So if one does get suspended or injured, oh, easy, in you come. We spent more on Royale than we did Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
And we
But
were haggling over 2 million.
But I mean, and that's not great. But what's even worse is not having another striker on this squad. Not having another senior striker besides Harry Kane. The only other recognized number 9 being a 17-year-old. It did, and he may be a fantastic 17-year-old, but he's still 17. And I'm sorry, I don't think I've ever seen a 17-year-old that has given me full confidence to start in the Premier League, except for maybe Wayne Rooney when he was 17 years old.
Oh,
You
there's
know,
Michael Owen. There's Michael
yeah, and
Owen.
Michael Owen.
Rashford, I can't remember if he's 17 or 18, but and the thing is,
It
if the
hardly
guy is
ever
playing,
happens.
but yeah, it hardly. But why couldn't it happen? And you don't know unless you try. You don't
Yeah.
know unless you try.
Well,
Give
at
him a
this
game.
point, where we are now,
Exactly,
yeah, give him a game. I mean,
exactly.
if I had known we would be in this position, but
And not just that, mate. We are the only team, and get what I'm about to say, the only team in world football with only one recognised striker.
yeah, yeah.
One. I know Man City play with a false nine and whatever, but they have Jesus, and they have who they've moved up from. Who's the Torres that they've moved up from? So you may be able to get away, maybe saying Man U, but we've with Man City, but we've had this problem for 6 years since Harry Kane. We've had a Vinicius, a Janssen, and a Llorente. Man City, if we're going to use like right now with their false nine, but we are the only team in world football that have not had a striker
My
to help.
my local club in MLS has more strikers than we do. We have three senior squad strikers. Then we have three strikers in the development team that can be called up to play for the senior team. So it's a joke. There's no reason at all. I mean, just oh my god, just go into the championship and bring some guy up from Preston North End or Barnsley or wherever. Just get a warm body in. Anybody who's just got a few years professional experience to play other than Dane Scarlett, and so we don't have to drag Son into the center of the pitch where he's not as effective. I mean,
Exactly.
it's just and I think this is the key, and this is why it was Paratici and not a Louis Campos or even a Ralph Rangnick. Why it was Paratici is because he was going to be willing, because of the glitz, the glamour, the upscale um, media attention around this job, which, yes, I mean, although Juventus is a more successful football club, being at Tottenham Hotspur is a bigger job as a director of football. And because of that, I think Fabio Paratici, knowing he was making that sort of step up, was willing to have Daniel Levy look over his shoulder and sign off on yes or no at the end of the deal for transfer window negotiations. I don't think Louis Campos would do that. I think if he was brought in, he would expect a budget, and he decides how it's spent, and that's it.
Well, also,
That's what a lot of directors of football expect from the owners is, okay, you can give me guidelines as to what kinds of players you want, and you can give me a budget as to how much I can spend within the window, but you don't get to say yes or no to each individual transfer. Most directors of football do not have to work under those conditions. And that's why we got Fabio Paratici and not a Louis Campos or a Ralph Ragnick.
I agree with you in some aspects and not in one, because the thing is with Paratici as well, you got to look at Paul Mitchell, who was to every single director of football we have had has come in, been told one thing and left, and each one of them has stated, I can't work with Levy. He doesn't listen. So I don't think it's so much Paratici is coming, but I can understand the glitz and glamour part, but he again has been fed a line, because when he's brokering deals for Ronaldo, for Higuain's and so on, and Pogba's and whatever, he's had free flow to do it. Whether it works or you judge someone, you give someone a job, you say you're director of football, you're gonna be in charge of the transfers and the footballing decisions, so I can take a step back, then you judge him on that. Like, one of the things I will say, love him or hate him because of what he does at Chelsea, Roman Abramovich, every time he hires a manager, he says, listen, I'm going to give you the pen to the checkbook. You just keep writing the checks, and I will clear them, and I will bankroll it. But when you don't deliver what I say, have set as your objectives, you're gone. I will give you everything to succeed. everything to succeed. And if you succeed, brilliant. Our marriage is going to be lovely. You'll get bonuses. I'll keep giving you money. There's no issue whatsoever. But when you screw
Yeah.
me and when this isn't working, you spend my money and I'm getting nothing in return.
Yeah.
So you're gone. And it's ruthless. But now let's look what Chelsea do. And you can't fault Abramovich for that. Yes, he's changed the transfer market. But you know what? He gives every manager, whether it's Roberto Di Matteo who comes in and wins the Champions League, whether it's Thomas Tuchel, whether it's Jose Mourinho, at the second they come in, here is the checkbook, here is the pen, off you go, sign who you want, I will back you. But if it don't work, and that's the way any director of football should have, or anyone in football. You're judged on the pitch or on the transfers or on the team result. That's how football works, but he can't do it. He can't do it. And I've been saying it doesn't matter if we had Jurgen Klopp as manager and Pep as assistant manager. It wouldn't make a difference. Not a blind bit.
Yeah.
Not a blind bit.
And I think on that note, that's a perfect time to go to some of the things that the press that I mentioned.
Yes, let's do this because I don't know if I've seen them all.
So for one, Alistair Gold in Football London answering some questions from the fans. This is really surprising to me because Alistair Gold, he's a good journalist, and he tends to report things that he believes are true, what he gets from the club. And he tries to be. Some people have accused him of playing defense for the club, defending, leave. I don't think he's ever trying to do that. I think he's just trying to be as professional and as level-headed as possible, and not try to jump to conclusions. Sometimes that means I disagree with him, but I think he's just trying to do his job. But it's at this point where he is starting to call out Levy and the board for the decisions they've made, and point to them as the main reason why Tottenham is in the position they're in. So just some of the quotes from this, it's really shocking, honestly. So for one, this more on the players and the culture of the club. So Jack 00 asked Alistair, lots of reports coming out today that the players are unhappy with Nuno's man management. Do you think he's lost the dressing room already? And Alistair says, I haven't personally read anything yet today, as I've been writing plenty, but I'm so wary of players or agents moaning about managers. It's a worrying theme, particularly at Tottenham, and Pochettino, Mourinho, Mason, and now Nuno have all had sniping behind the scenes, presumably from those who aren't playing. At some point, we have to look at the players and why the go-to option is to moan about the manager. How many managers do the club have to go through before the players are happy? Perhaps it says more about them than those brought in to manage them. Now, those last two sentences, I cannot believe that Alistair Gold has said that. That is huge. That is essentially saying that it has not been the managers that have been the problem at Spurs over the last few years. That it has been the players, and even more so, the players have been affected by the culture created at the club, and the culture obviously comes down from the top.
Of course. I mean, now, I just want to say a piece on Alistair Gold, because I've been following Alistair Gold pretty much since the start of when he started doing the stadium walk around when we're building the stadium. I think Alistair Gold is terrific. I think Alistair Gold is absolutely brilliant. I think Alistair Gold, with his weekly videos that he's now done for a considerable amount of time, whether you like him, don't like him, believe he's a mouthpiece for the club, or which I personally don't.
No.
He goes out of his way to keep us in the know. And I trust him a billion times over Sky Sports News or any other outlets that are pumping this stuff out. Alistair Gold is in a position that we would all love to have. I would kill for Alistair Gold's job. To go around the country, around Europe, around the world, and just spending your day writing about Tottenham. So he has a very, very, very hard job. Sometimes it can be wonderful to write stuff about Tottenham, and sometimes it can be very, very hard. But what we have to remember as well, Alistair Gold is a fan of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yep.
He's not a Football London journalist that supports Crystal Palace or Leicester or Man U, or he is a Tottenham Hotspur supporter. Now, you've also got to remember with Alistair Gold, we all come on here as Spurs fans, diehard Spurs fans, and we can F and blind and shout and swear and bitch and bark. He can't. Am I boring you, mate? I'm only joking. I know it's early.
No,
I know it's early. I know it's early.
Over here.
I know it's early. But yeah, Alistair Gold has this as a profession where he earns a wage and supports his family and brings his kids up and pays his mortgage and does everything, but he cannot cross. I'm sure Alistair Gold behind the scenes, I can't confirm it because I've never met him, but I'd love to have the pleasure. I'm sure behind Alistair Gold feels just as annoyed, pissed off, enraged with us as Alistair Gold, the fan, as opposed to Alistair Gold, the Tottenham Hotspur reporter. And if you watch his videos, and I watch them very carefully, I actually really look forward to them, and I love them. And you can tell by his body language. What I learned when I was living abroad as well, when I used to live in Israel, that a lot of the things you've got to do, especially in the media, is don't just look at what people are saying, look at what you're seeing. So if it's on the news, they may be saying one thing, but the pictures are completely different. Or, you know what I mean? Now, if you watch Alistair Gold, he's talking as the reporter, but his body language is Alistair Gold, the fan.
Yeah. I
urge you to look at it next time because he has to be very careful. What Alistair Gold does for us Spurs fans is outstanding. I will also say with Alistair Gold that whenever he is so kind, I send him messages quite regularly on Facebook just saying thank you so much and our great piece and comment on his videos because he deserves our respect. He deserves a hell of a lot for what he does. So when you're going back to the two sentences you just said, that's going back to like the body language kind of thing I'm saying. He's got to be careful with the fan and the fan and the profession.
Yeah, trying to balance those two things.
Exactly. So it's just a shame, but thankfully Alistair Gold has a way with words where he can write it so it's not blurring the lines. And of course,
you've got to commend him for that because I mean, I think both you and we're both, I think, a little too passionate. If we were in that position, I think it would be difficult, to kind of contain ourselves at times,
Yeah. Yeah, and, I believe Eugene's in the background.
Yeah.
But whilst you're doing Eugene, I just want to say hello to the man you've got in your comments. Do you know how much I love this dude? Ronan, I know you're still watching. Every channel I'm on, and not just every channel I'm on, obviously I notice it when it comes up when I'm on a stream, but even when I'm not on a stream, this guy is everywhere, supporting every single channel. And not only that, you can quite clearly see he's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
But when he comes in, he is so respectful to everyone. He's not one of those that come on and banter. Or he may have little banter, but he's not one of those that are trolling. This guy is an absolute legend. Absolute legend. So big up, Ronan.
Yeah. And, personally, I'd rather him be a Liverpool fan than, a fan of several other clubs. At least there are things I can admire and respect about Liverpool, but still want to beat them every time we play, even though we hardly ever do.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Liverpool, and the only reason I have a soft spot, is a real soft spot, is growing up I was absolutely obsessed, and I mean obsessed with Robbie Fowler. I love Robbie Fowler, the player, person. I would have had him if someone had given me the time, Shearer or Fowler at Tottenham, I would have chose Fowler. I absolutely love Robbie Fowler. So I have just the slightest. I lost a bit when it came to the Champions League final, but yeah, Robbie Fowler to me is a very, very special person and player.
And welcome, Eugene. It's
Hi
it's good
guys.
to have you here as always.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
get a haircut? You're looking sharp.
yeah. Just got a haircut today, and I just came off a stream with Manchester United, Liverpool, and an Arsenal fan. Just finished off with them.
That sounds like the
Oh,
beginning. That sounds like the beginning of a joke.
and you
No,
were
no,
representing
no.
Spurs right now. That must
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
difficult.
But it was a local YouTube channel for Malaysia, so we all very very nice to each other in those scenarios. Yeah, yeah. But
Oh, okay.
we
So
are
they
still
didn't give you too much steak then.
Oh no, didn't give me too much stake or anything like that. But they did give me a chance to rant out at you know who. So now
Oh
they
yeah,
understand what's happening to the club, right? So can't blame the manager, can't blame the players because the problems lies away all the way up there, right? So
absolutely.
yeah, but like guys, tomorrow I'll be doing a show. But let's see when the dust has settled. Bobby has gone back, Brian.
So no, where I am now, I got in a car with Bobby yesterday because where he lives up north, my best mate who I met 15, 16 years ago, he actually lives about 30 minutes away from Bobby.
Ah,
So I've come up with Bobby. So I'm with my best mate. He's actually at work right now. So it's lovely. I mean, beautiful place. It's just incredible. The views are incredible. The weather's absolutely horrible. But I'm here for the week,
yeah,
and we'll be
okay,
meeting out with Bob Spurs during the week.
that's good.
But yeah, with my best mate right now.
All right. hmm So I guess everyone is settled down a bit, calmed down a bit after all the things that happened.
Nope.
Nope, not you, Brian. But I know what's been going on and all that. So let's see what happens. We got a match on Thursday, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? And we're playing home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see what happens then. And that's supposed to be an easy match for us. Let's see what kind of a lineup we're going to set up. That's the only thing we're looking for. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't honestly. I think with the position the club is in right now, I don't think there is such a thing as an easy match.
Mm-hmm.
I think every match is going to be, and I can just see with the lack of effort shown at the Emirates on Sunday, I can see some of these players walking into this Thursday game against this team from Slovenia thinking they're a bunch of farmers and that they can just walk all over them. I think Nuno really needs to play the young players on Thursday, not
Yeah.
not because you need to save the senior players for fitness, not for any of those reasons. The only reason I say play the young players is because we can guarantee that regardless of where the opponents are coming from, they're going to take it seriously just because they're having the opportunity to wear the shirt. And
Yeah.
we can't say the same about these senior players.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But like I said, we still have to look what Nuno is going to do, right? Whether he's going to put out the team, which is, like you said, I think there'll be a mixture again. But this time I want to see at least, maybe Scarlett get a chance, right? Hill gets a start off. Romero has to come in. These are the few players that we want to see them play, right? And at least have some kind of understanding between each players and all that. If not, when are we going to start gelling them together and all that? So, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right.
Yeah, and I just want to before Eugene, we were talking about some of Alistair Gold's comments um,
Mm,
over the last 24 hours, responding to some questions posed by fans, and honestly giving some really hard hitting answers that we don't necessarily come to expect from him. So I mentioned the one where he's talking about the players and hitting out at the manager, blaming the manager, players throwing managers under the bus, possibly contributing to them getting sacked. Here's another one, though, where a fan asks, can you see Daniel Levy pressing the button or aka sacking Nuno if we lose next week to Aston Villa? And to that, Alistair says, I think it would be an absolutely disastrous display that showed no signs of improvement or promise. So it would have to be a really, really bad loss for
mhm,
Levy to remove Tottenham's fourth manager in less than 2 years. Again, if you include
mhm.
Mason, it's four managers in less than 2 years.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then he says Levy made the decision to change direction and structure with the appointment of Fabio Paratici in the summer. Now he has to back his man just 3 months in, and Nuno was the Italian's choice. If he
hmm
doesn't, then
Yeah.
he's immediately undermining Paratici, and also throwing the spotlight on his own decision making. And this is the hardest part. It's a ludicrous situation, and the plight of the club and the consequences since those transfer windows with no spending in the 2018-19 season has been stark and all too clear. And I mean
Yeah.
that is basically him pointing the finger directly at Daniel Levy and
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
"This is all on you." And
Yeah.
for an independent journalist, not one of us, fans, to say that, that's strong stuff.
Yeah. To tell the truth, I was just explaining it to the guys on the other show earlier, right? About not having any new players coming in the three transfer windows that we had, the Poch issue, the stadium build up, right? Everything is falling onto the owner. And to tell the truth, you bring Nuno in, right? Even you brought in Mourinho, a world class manager, couldn't turn this squad around. How do you expect Nuno to turn this squad around, right? So the blame, to tell the truth, is looking more and more dire because we have not improved in this past 3 years at all. Instead of that, we have regressed, right? We've gone backwards. So whoever comes in now, if you sack Nuno now, right, who are you going to bring in? No world-class manager is going to come in to take the job. We're not playing Champions League, okay? To tell the truth, we were lucky we end up with Mason, okay? That's all. We were lucky we end up with Mason. But Nuno, I think we still have to give him some time, okay? Because I was talking to the guys in the other show, so they were saying, right, a lot of managers nowadays aren't given time, but if you give them some time, results might come out. No guarantee, might come out. But the thing is that if you're left with the load of players which are not performing for the manager, what hope does he have? We can't, we've been saying, this transfer window, a lot of fans were saying, oh, it's a 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. But now the truth that the transfer window we went through, most probably is 2.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because none of the players, come on, guys, on Sunday when we played Arsenal, what team did we put out? It was the same bunch of players that played them last season. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Right. What do you expect? Right. In the first 11, what do you expect? You can't expect much. But like I said, the love for the club is the love for the club, right? And there are all kinds of fans out there, armchair fans, passionate fans like us in the panel and in the chats, right? Who follow the club with their heart on the sleeve, right? Who are being hurt at the moment by all the results that we're getting. So we want change, but there's a big bunch of them out there, right? We're all armchair, where you just sit down, you watch the match, you win, you're happy, you lose, you feel sad for 1-2 hours, then you walk away. Your life takes over after that, right? The next week comes, repeat the same thing over and over again, right? So it's hard to say. It's hard to say what kind of direction we're heading. Whether the owners are going to wake up and start doing some things, correct? And like I was saying earlier in the earlier stream, Arsenal spent 150 million pounds this season. They got Tomiyasu this season, right? What did we get? How much did we spend overall? Okay,
and
so
and
don't expect much.
Ronan here in the comments tags Brian and us as well. Why is Jimmy Greaves not got a statue? It is a
Ronan.
joke, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this is one of the things they might
yeah.
bring up when the supporters trust goes to meet with the board, assuming the board agrees to the meeting.
The board.
And,
I really came
what do
on
you
my
guys
show
think
on
about
Sunday.
that?
I came out with a statement to Levy. I'm not sure whether Brian, did you hear it on Sunday? When I
No,
came out
but
with
I also released a statement yesterday on the
Yeah.
Irish Hotspurs show. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw the Irish Hotspurs show about the group that I'm in to try and force this change in the protest.
Yeah.
And the supporters trust have kind of listened. And good news, mate, for you, Kieran. Alistair Gold will be watching your stream.
What?
Alistair Gold will be watching your stream. So I've just sent him a link saying that I've just had a little speech saying how wonderful you are. Can you see that's Alistair?
Yeah. Well,
And he just said,
oh, that's great. That's great.
That's great.
Well,
That's great.
Alistair, if you do end up watching this back, I am a massive fan of yours. Love the work you do. And yeah, it's
Mm,
great to have a supporter of the club, but also a dedicated professional
mhm,
reporting on the club. And
mhm.
yeah, I never miss one of your YouTube uploads.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for everything you do, Alistair. So
So yeah, getting back onto what we're talking about with Alistair and what he said about sacking Nuno and pointing the fingers at Levy, as we were saying. Listen, this parasite, and by the way, I'm speaking Levy, as we all know. He's put himself in a corner. He's put himself in such a bad situation that if he lets it carry on and the results are going bad, it looks like he doesn't care, which we know he doesn't. But then if he sacks him, it's like, well, you took 75 days to go get him. You brought in players that apparently he wanted. You went through 10 managers, a lot that rejected us, not you rejected them. Who are you going to bring in now?
yeah,
Who are you going to bring in now? It's like, well, wait a minute. What's gonna happen? No matter which way we turn, as a club, he has screwed it.
Yep,
He
yeah.
has
true.
screwed it. No, it's kind of. I don't know if you have them in Malaysia or in America, but we have them. Or I don't even know if we still have them in England. But we have these books. So it would be like these role play books and fancy. It's like if you want to fight the dragon, turn to page this, or if you want to fight
Yeah,
James
choose
Bond.
your own adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Basically, that is what Levy has done to this club. That's where we go. Every time there's a decision, it's like, do you want to get screwed or do you want to do this?
No, Brian.
And
Do
we
you want to
always
get
choose
no,
to get
Brian? Brian,
screwed.
wait. Do you want to get screwed or do you want to get screwed harder?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Both
That
ways
might
you'll
be
get screwed. Both ways you'll
that
get screwed.
that that's the way you look at it. This is what it's come. It's like every decision. It's like I don't expect. Would you expect a manager to walk in or a player to walk into Daniel Levy and go, the way I think we can improve our marketing structure is if we have this 5-point business plan and do this, and this, and here's this PowerPoint. No, because they don't know anything about that side of the business. So why do we have a chairman who claims to be a Spurs fan, who comes in and says, right, well, I want this, and this, when you don't know a single thing? You hire managers to manage. You hire a director of football to direct football.
Well,
Not to. It's beyond the joke. When it comes to listen, I don't want us to sack Nuno. I don't want us to sack Nuno because again we become a laughing stock. Ha ha ha! You had Nuno. Look at that. Levy wanted him or didn't want him. Paratici had to convince him, and blah blah. And then you look right now. Let's just say the unthinkable happens, and I'm not going to talk about Thursday because if we lose that, that's a completely different story. Let's say we lose against Villa, and they pull the trigger, at the international break, thinking, you know what, we've got 2 weeks to find a manager. This is a good time to do it. Who in their right mind is going to say, do you know what,
well, how
wherever
are
you
they
are?
supposed to find a manager in 2 weeks when it took 72 days to get Nuno?
Well, this is the
That's
thing.
the
I mean,
whole thing.
they'd obviously put Mason in whilst they look for another one because I don't think they'd give
Exactly. Yeah.
Mason. I don't think they'd give Mason the full season. I really don't. But then you look at it and it's like, how do you sell Tottenham Hotspur? Well, during the close season, you can get any manager unless it's like a Man City or like a league title winner from a big league, because obviously why are they going to leave? But when you're in that close season, you can say, yeah, come to Tottenham. We're going to give you money. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You're going to have. But now you're going to say, right, that first of all, any club right now that are doing well and the manager we go for are not going to let their manager go, like in the beginning of October. And if they do, there's a compensation fee that will be sky high. Who's not going to pay the compensation fee? I know exactly who's not going to pay. We know who's not going to pay the compensation fee. Then you look at managers that are out of work, and you look at Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
Then you look at people are saying Harry Redknapp just to come back and steady the ship, kind of thing, and bring some kind of enjoyment.
I don't think Levy
Redknapp
would have
won't
to
come
do
Don't
back.
get me wrong. No, it's not going to happen. But I can see why his name's getting branded. Because
I'd
if he
love
walked
to have
back through
Harry back.
if he
I think
walked
it would
back
be
through the
great.
door, if he walked
Harry
back
won't
through
come
the
back.
door, the fan factor and the the fans we were saying at the beginning, Kieran, that don't want to go because of the brand of football, whatever, immediately they're back.
Yeah,
Immediately.
absolutely.
And then you
Guys,
look at Jurgen Klinsmann. I don't want Jurgen Klinsmann.
Don't be
I
surprised
don't
if we
want
get him.
Klinsmann.
We might get
I
him.
don't.
Listen, I mean, I gotta say this as somebody who has watched Jurgen Klinsmann
Yes, I know.
coach as the manager of the U.S. men's national team. He is not the guy. He is the reason that we did not make the last World Cup. It's not because of Bruce Arenas, who was the coach manager at the time. It was because Jurgen Klinsmann destroyed an entire cycle, an entire 4-year cycle of our national team, and we had a complete mess of a squad going into the World Cup qualifying for the last World Cup. And now we've got these young players coming through, and we're looking better. But it's taken a full 8 years to recover and build back stronger from what Jurgen Klinsmann did to the U.S. national team program. So imagine what he could do with Spurs.
But the thing is, I don't. That's not the reason. I don't want Jurgen Klinsmann because he's a bad manager or a good man. That's not why I don't want him. I have a huge issue, and I mean huge issue, with ex-legends coming back to manage a club.
Yeah.
Because you look at them now, I thankfully had the honour, privilege, blessing, luxury, whatever you want to call, to pretty much see every single every home game of Jurgen Klinsmann's first time. And a lot, and I mean a lot of his away games. It was the year before I had my first season ticket, but I travelled a bit with Tottenham. But every home game, I managed to get a ticket. This guy was incredible. What he did for English football and what he did for Tottenham is incredible. Now, Jurgen Klinsmann, the player, will always go down as a legend, regardless that he won nothing.
Oh, fantastic.
But who he was, what he was, the personality, the everything. And then when people come back as manager, you look at people like Glenn Hoddle and Ossie Ardiles. When people say that, they'll go, you know what, amazing player. Magician, genius. Glenn Hoddle, probably one of the greatest, and to a lot of people, the greatest. You talk about Glenn Hoddle, the manager, it's, and I hate it when we do that. I hate it. Because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. And I mean, I don't want to see Ledley King as manager. I don't want to see any big star. Like, I just don't want to see it. I just don't like it.
Well, it's almost like you don't. It's weird because, we're in this position now where, you want things to improve. You want the football to improve, the squad to improve. But any kind of manager that you actually like and respect, you almost don't want them to come to the club because you know what situation they're walking into. So whether it's a former player or a manager that you just admire, you almost don't want them to come to Tottenham because you don't want to see their reputation ruined or them put through the ringer of taking the job. So it's almost like I think the only option, both realistically the only option for the club and also the only option, that allows us to maintain our sanity is to go for an unproven younger manager that is, maybe somebody managing in the championship or elsewhere around Europe, somebody who's promising, who plays attacking football, but it's going to be somebody who's not won anything, somebody with no pedigree, because we're not going to get anybody like that. I think that's our only hope. I don't even know who that person is. Maybe Eddie Howe, but
it doesn't matter.
Exactly, that's the thing.
It doesn't matter. You know why?
The only thing that can
whoever
help this
you bring
team
in now
is somebody who can turn water into wine, somebody who can polish turds into diamonds. And there's only a few of those in the world, so.
And they won't come.
Yeah,
and they won't come to us. And the thing is that
unless we get lucky and find the next Pochettino, whoever that next person is.
But the problem, right, with this squad of players that we have now, right, you won't be lucky in any sense. They already thrown 4 managers under the bus. Do you think the next one to come in, they won't do the same thing, right? Now the thing is that let's see whether Nuno has the balls, right, to get rid of all those, to put the deadwood aside and bring in the youth and give them a chance. And at least if you screw up with the youth, right, us fans will say that at least you're trying something different.
Exactly.
Okay? Now he keeps playing the same players over and over and over again, right? We are going back to the same notion, like when Mason came in. Why did he play this player? Why did he play that player? Mason isn't picking the team. Levy is. So if Nuno starts doing the same thing over and over again, right, we'll have it in our mind that Nuno isn't picking the team. Levy is.
Yeah.
Right? So, to tell the truth, and if they sack Nuno now, what about Paratici? They should sack him too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know? Correct? At the same time, while you're sacking Paratici, sack Hitchen too.
Yeah.
Right? Because now they're all linked up together. Right? But I don't think that'll happen anytime soon, because to tell the truth, if they do that, it shows, like what Brian says, we're a joke. Okay, we have to at least give him at least 10 to 12 games to see what happens. But when the time comes to the 10 and 12 games, he still can't turn the players around, and he's really, really lost that dressing room, right? And he doesn't make the changes as needed to be made, like the change of formation. You know that we can't play 4-3-3 or the 4-3-2-1 or whatever. He needs to play the 3 at the back with the what call the wing backs going forward and all that. Let him try it. Right? Let him try it.
You know, the other way to flip it as well is, if you say that our kind of history that we've had under Levy was Enoch. So let's say Enoch got to 5 or 6 final bids of huge estates or huge land to build on, but the closer, like the manager, failed at the final every single time. Do you reckon that manager is still there, or do you reckon it's like, well, you've been to 5 final bids, you had this land, you did all this work, and then you fell through? Do you reckon they're going to keep doing that? No, they'll sack him and bring, say, right, we need someone more ruthless. We need someone that can execute what we're trying to do and get us over the line.
But you must understand, all the deals go through who?
No, that's what I'm saying, Eugene. That's what I'm saying. If we flip it, if you look at what's going on with our football club and said, you know what, flip it over and said this was happening with Enoch,
property,
the guys that were in charge would be out. Out. You're not doing your job. We the business is losing money. We need to reinvest and refit and whatever. But when it comes to the football club, it's just acceptable. I mean, do you know what? And it's really started to piss me off. And someone tweeted this at the AJ fight or before the AJ fight, and I retweeted it. And do you know what? It's getting me more and more mad, or more and more furious every time I see it. Where the guy said, "You know what? Apart from the cockerel on the top of the stadium, how would you know this was Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Old White Hart Lane had Thfc on the seats. It had a big cockerel. It had the banners. It had to dare is to do. The club is about glory." Now, I understand they've had to take that down for just pure hypocrisy. But there's no branding. There's no nothing. And the talk about not doing something for Dewey Greaves is sickening. And the very fact that Chelsea are thinking of doing something and may do it makes it a billion times worse. What will make it a trillion times worse is if Chelsea announce they're going to do something and then we announce it. Then we
scored twice the goals for Tottenham than he scored for Chelsea. Twice as many he scored for us. I mean, he is known primarily as a Spurs player.
Oh, of course.
Not a Chelsea player. The best years of his career were playing at Tottenham. We should be the ones to build the statue. And people shouldn't even have to ask. He's without a doubt the greatest player who's ever played for us. And Harry Kane looks like he had an opportunity to maybe take that mantle, but I don't know if that's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, just a question, Brian. During the old White Hart Lane, did we have any statues?
No, so when you go to White Hart Lane, okay, so do you remember the West Stand, which is where basically the players pulled into the car park and you see it occasionally? So that was like the posh. So basically it's the Levy stand, where Levy or all the directors, that stand. As you walk up the famous gates that you would have seen Bill Nicholson standing by or whatever, you open that up and you've got the players' car park or whoever, employees' car park. And then you walk into the West Stand reception. And as you walk in on the right-hand side or left-hand side was a bust of Bill Nicholson's face.
Okay, no, I'm saying not now. The old White Hart Lane.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That was the only one. In the old White Hart Lane, the West Stand, only the one bust of Bill Nicholson's face and that was way before Edic
Okay.
and Levy. So that is, and I mean, how the hell Bill Nicholson's got his bloody ashes? Sorry, I don't want to speak disrespect. Well, the great Sir Bill Nick has his ashes and his wife's ashes underneath the pitch.
The old pitch.
Un-
The old
underneath
pitch.
the
The
No,
old
but they
pitch.
moved it. No, they dug it up and moved it back. So it's under the centre circle again. That is where Bill Nick is.
No,
This.
no, Brian. Now our pitch, right? It's movable.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay.
So he has to be how many layers down?
Okay. Well, I know they have moved it, but I don't know. I can't confirm
I don't
where.
think it's in the
That's a
center
very good
circle.
point.
Yeah,
But
I think it's in the
they
center,
have
yeah.
moved it though. When they started the rebuild, they have moved it. But this man
It
gave
is
blood, sweat,
supposedly
and tears.
somewhere underneath.
Yeah, he's
underneath
somewhere.
the stadium.
He is somewhere now.
So-
Man City are rolling out statues for Aguero and company.
Yeah.
The filth have Henri,
Henri.
Bergkamp, and I think
Yeah.
there's another couple. And also on the ground, as you look when they show you the Emirates, they've got all ex-legends linking arms to arms. It's like they're doing you know, they link. You know, they link arms to like do the round of applause or a bit. So you've got all the legends on this mural going around the stadium. You go to
Indeed.
Liverpool, you go to West Ham, they've all got statues. Tottenham Hotspur, we have a no statue policy. Why? Because it will stab Tottenham on an entertainment centre.
Yeah. And we have an art gallery. We have the longest bar in the stadium in the whole
Beers
of the
that
world.
fill up from the bottom.
Yeah, and beers that fill up from the bottom. Yeah.
I just
Okay.
want to take a second to.
I think this is what you call, right? This is what you call is that he's erasing our history, because our history has got our history has got glory, right? His history doesn't have. So that's your answer.
Yeah. And I just want to take this comment from Scott M. I would take a chance on Marcelo Gallardo in Argentina, and their season ends in December, but no chance Levy does. Not sure he would come. He's the coach of River Plate.
River Plate, yeah.
Yeah, River Plate.
Plate.
Yeah.
Scott, I have to say one thing on that. That you've got to remember that when players make transfers and they have people they know or from their country that have played for the club, work at the club, they talk. Regardless, they all get each other's numbers. And if you don't think that this guy, I don't know a lot about Gallardo, will not pick up the phone to Poch, to Ozzy, to Ricky, to people as they, what's it like to work for Spurs? What's it like to play for Spurs? What's it like to work with Levy? And then it dies. It dies.
Of course. Yeah. Any right call any manager with the right mind or has an ambition, right, won't want to touch us at the moment, right? Because,
So the thing is, it would be a big jump up from him to go from the Argentinian league to
it's a big jump, but it's high risk.
The Premier League.
This is not even a calculated risk, because you look at the managers that have gone before him. Like let's just say the Leicester job became available. Brendan Rodgers got the sack. That's a risk worth taking. That's like, do you know what? I'm going to come to Leicester. I've seen that they're going places. They've won the league. They back the manager. They have a fantastic infrastructure and a scouting network. They stand by their manager. This is a club I will take a calculated risk for. Nuno is potentially ruining his career by taking a huge risk in coming to work for this.
True. Yeah.
I would have thought that, but I'm not so sure now, because I think that, the media and I think the football, everybody around the football world is seeing what's really going on at Tottenham now, and I think they know that he's in an impossible position. Listen, I think Spurs is a job that's a little too big for Nuno. Upon seeing how he's handling it, I understand he's in a terrible situation at Spurs, but also the way he speaks in the media, the way he's dealing with the players. I don't know if this is really. I think the Spurs job might be too high profile for Nuno. It's a lot different than being at Valencia or being at Wolverhampton. Porto was a high-profile job, but that it's in Portugal. His home country's more comfortable there. I think this is a whole different thing. I think
But
Nuno,
Kieran,
after
if you go
leaving
there, right?
Tottenham, either way
Yeah.
was going to go to a smaller club after this job. Either way,
But
so
if it's saying like in this way, right? In the next question, I might ask you guys: do you think Nuno will resign? Because if he can't get a tune out of the players in the squad that he has, right, and it's not working for him all the time, I think in the next 5, 6 games or 7, 8 games, right, if he had the honorable thing to do is to resign. If the
I
players
don't
are
know
not
if he
playing for
would,
you,
because I'll give you one reason why he probably won't. He's making £174,000 a week.
Who
yeah,
is?
but all the
Nuno, that's his weekly wage. It's like
Sorry?
170. It's like over £170,000 a week.
See, now that's annoying me because Poch was on just over 100.
Yes,
Just.
he's making more than Pochettino. Yeah.
in PSG.
He's making more. He's
No,
making more than like
no, Poch
75% of the squad.
Oh, I mean
Poch
at
at
Tottenham.
Tottenham
Yeah. At Tottenham,
was
yes,
on
yes, yes, yeah.
95 grand a week to start off with, or as it built up.
Yeah,
But I think
yeah,
his
yeah.
final wage was 105.
Yeah. But guys,
And
don't
you
forget that time the wage structure was tied down. Levy didn't open up the wage structure. Remember, there's a period of time that we never paid more than £100,000 a week to a player or a manager. See, it's only this past 2-3 years, when Kane started to be on his top, and when he signed his 6-year contract, and he was called into signing a 6-year contract, right? That we will improve. That's when he opened up the wage structure. That's how we got Tanguy and Ndombele for 200k a week, right? Which is now is such a joke because Son gets less than him.
And we had also gotten rid of Dembele and Eriksson, who were earning big money. And now this summer we moved on a lot of players and have freed up even more of that wage budget.
And who did we
through
bring
our
in?
dealings this past summer. Exactly, but what did we do with it? Exactly. I had suspicions when Nuno was given the 2-year contract that potentially the length was designed to match the remaining length of Pochettino's PSG contract, and
But
that
to tell you the
Levy's
truth,
plan is essentially to ride things out until Pochettino leaves PSG, either at the end of his contract or him getting sacked for either not winning the league, not doing well enough in the Champions League, or at this point maybe even just angering Leo Messi. But it seems that we're not going to make it that far. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But one thing I'd like us to do real quick is to take a look at the next 6 games.
to tell you the truth, right? I don't want Poch to come back when Levy is here.
Correct.
I wouldn't want that either.
That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Right.
want that either.
Because why should Poch come back to a scenario where you know that you're not going to get backed, right? You know you're not going to get listened to, and then you try to build something, and then somebody will just pull the plug and let it crash again.
Well, the thing is as well, with Nuno, I'm amazed. Like, if I was Nuno, I would have even signed a 2-year contract. I'd be like, you give me a 3-year contract, because I would have put 2 and 2 together like everyone else is. I thought, right, so you just got me here potentially as a replacement or a filler until Poch is free. So I want 3 years. And if you sack me, you pay me the 3 years. Because I don't think it's the case. It's very, very coincidental that these two are 2 years or whatever, which for a manager in his first contract normally can be a 2-year.
2+1.
But I would have been like, literally, I ain't touching. If my contract is the same length as Poch, there is no way I'm signing that contract.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're going to do. I can see it. Not saying it will happen. So I kind of blame Nuno for signing that contract. But then you tell me he's on 147 grand a week. And I can't say that he's stupid. I can say that
174.
Yeah.
174.
Yeah.
That's the number I saw today. Yeah.
I'll sign that contract. you sign the contract, Brian.
Yeah, but I would sign the contract for not for managerial reasons.
Yeah. Oh gosh, 174 a week. Not a month, a week.
That's
sure?
Insane.
Are you sure? Is it a month or a week, Kieran?
There's no way it's a month. There is no way it's on 174.
Come on, if it's 174 a week, that comes up to about 600 plus a month, which comes out to nearly £7 million per year.
Yeah, you got to remember, Jose
that's
was
his
on 50.
contract. His base salary is £7 million per year. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. Oh
So
yeah,
I'm
Jose
seeing
was 15,
I'm
right?
seeing one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm seeing one weekly wage that says 146,000, but I saw as high as
That might be after
174.
tax.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that could be
that's
after
probably
tax.
after
Yeah.
tax. Yeah, so after tax, 146 million. But yeah, he's on. It's a
146 million
7 million.
a week.
146,000.
146,000.
146. I think
Sorry,
we have
it's
some
a
serious
7
answers
million.
there.
It's a
It's a £7 million contract per year. Yeah,
7 million
7
pound
million.
contract. All right.
But this is the
So-
thing that makes me laugh. When we sat,
little
when
less
we
than
sat
half
pod,
what Jose is on.
well,
Mind you, we're still paying Jose Mourinho right now while he's at Roma.
Yeah.
We're still paying him.
Yeah.
so when we sat Poch, we were told that we didn't have any money and we had to buy to sell and we couldn't get Dybala because of 14 million. Although we paid Jose Poch 14 million to go, and then we raised from the 95 to 100,000 Poch was on. We gave Mourinho 205,000, but we didn't have any money to
More
spend. But all of a sudden we found
or
out it was
more.
205.
Yeah.
That it was 205,000 a week he was on.
Yeah.
Again, that could be after tax.
Mhm.
So 205,000 a week to come in to sack him. It's just we don't have any money though. We don't have any money, but we can
Yeah.
just our greatest manager of the Premier League era, and for a lot of people, the greatest manager they've ever seen in their lifetime. On 90 odd grand, 100 grand a week, and then it doubles to Jose, and then the next manager comes in, and it's just a little bit under Jose.
Half of it, more or less. Yeah.
Well, no, 205 to 174, 146.
Yeah. About. Yeah. Just a little bit.
It's,
50K.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can pay me the difference. Pay me 50K a week, and I'll manage Spurs for 50K a week.
Yeah.
Now that's why sometimes I wonder about all these big
I
numbers
do it for
flying
5K
around.
a week.
Yeah, all these big numbers flying around, right? Someone in the middle must be making hell of money in commissions. Must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big numbers,
Who
big
knows?
commissions. Yeah.
So I just wanted to, for the last few minutes here, I just wanted
Yeah.
to do a little exercise. Take a look at the next 6 games, because let's assume that being generous, Nuno has 6 games to determine whether or not he stays on as manager. So let's take a look at the next 6 Premier League games and see what we think. So we've got the schedule here. Let me go ahead and full screen that so you can see it better. There you go. So here we go, 3-1 to Arsenal. Then this is the Europa League on Thursday. Okay, so our next 6 Premier League games are Aston Villa at home, Newcastle away, West Ham away, Man U at home, Everton away, and Leeds at home.
Oh dear.
That's not an easy run. I mean, Villa is a good team for one. Villa is not the usual same old Aston Villa.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough game. Newcastle away is one we always struggle with.
Yes.
St. James is not an easy place to go. And
Yeah. Somehow or another, we can't score for nuts over there.
Yeah. I mean, I remember last season
we can't score for nuts now, correct?
Yeah.
We can't score for nuts now, right? And we go over there and we can't score for nuts, so we're gonna get nuts.
Yeah, I remember last season they had their backup keeper and Carl Darlow, their backup goalkeeper, and he put on a worldly performance against
And
us.
they always do that. Tim
It's so
Krul did it to us. Darlow does it to us. Oh, I don't want to say about Newcastle, but okay.
And then we've got another London derby. So far, we're 0 for 3. 0 for 3 in London
West Ham,
derbies.
are we at
We
home?
got another one against West Ham. That's away.
Away.
We're away
Oh
to
my
West
God.
Ham.
We're gonna get smacked there.
Yeah, that doesn't look good to me. And then Man United, who, I mean,
Home.
Yeah, that's at home. But honestly, it doesn't matter. They're just it's crazy going from last season beating Man United
I think
6-1 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I think we have to simplify, right? Out of the 6 games, how many points do you think we can get?
I would hope that we could nick a win against Newcastle. Maybe a 1-0, 2-1 win against Newcastle. Maybe. I think Villa's a loss. Maybe we can get a win at Newcastle. West Ham is a loss. Man United, that looks like a loss to me as well. Everton,
Maybe a draw.
hopefully we're playing a little bit better by then. Maybe we could get a draw out of the Everton game. That's away, but it seems like almost every time we go to Goodison Park, we walk out with a draw.
God.
So I'm
Out of
just going to
18
go with a
points,
draw
I
there.
think maximum of this 18 points, I think we get 7.
Yeah.
Most probably we'll beat
Yeah,
Leeds.
because I think we can beat Leeds as well because Leeds have not been looking good so far. So yeah, 7 points. Let's say a win against Newcastle, win against Leeds, a draw at Everton, and
we lose the rest.
Villa, West Ham, Man U. Is that
That's
enough?
about-
Is 7 out of the next, 18 possible points? Is that good enough to keep? I don't think it is. I think that puts us in a bad position.
Yeah, no. To tell the truth, right? At the moment now, even we get a point out of you draw all the 6 games, you'll be happy.
Yeah,
giving it 7 points, it could be a far fetch. The way it's going.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian? What do you see from those? So we'll go over it again real quick.
Sorry about that. We just had a blackout temporary in my mate's building, and I was like, what's going on? And I'm back now, so I missed all of it. So let's do that.
Okay, so just real quick again. So next game, obviously, that's Villa at home. Then Newcastle away.
Yep.
Then a London derby, West Ham away.
Yep.
Then Man U at home. Everton away. And then Leeds at home. That's our next 6 games.
Okay, obviously Premier League now. I'm looking forward to the Manchester United one the most. And the reason I say that is I'm back in Canada. And then obviously I can't be blamed as this jinx from being here and losing all the time. So, and it's also the day before my wife's birthday.
But you've got to watch another London derby before you go back to Canada, though.
I know. So Villa, Villa look good. They had a couple of dodgy results, but performance-wise, I think they've been good. And again, it all depends what team we put out Thursday. Do we put out a team on Thursday to try and get this group done and just wallop a big score? Or I think we can wallop a big score, but we see. So then are the players ready for Sunday? And on Sunday, it's a hard game. Do you know what? If you gave me a point right now, I'll take it. In fact, if you gave me a point in all of them right now, I'll take it. That's how bad
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
So looking at Villa here, the first game of the season, lose 3-2 to Watford. First game of the season,
they were poor that game.
Happened. Yeah, bad performances do happen. 2-0 against Newcastle. Drew with Brentford. You can't knock them for that. Brentford is a good.
No, Brentford, mate, I'm terrified of playing them. They are going to. Yeah. Do you know what? I think Brentford are a team. I think exactly. I think Brentford potentially, the way we're playing, could tear us a new one.
Yeah. Because they have belief. They have hope. Yeah. They have fight. The players, they fight for the badge. They fight for each other. They fight for the fans. They fight for their manager. They have.
It's their first time in the Premier League.
From the top to the bottom. Yeah, it's their first time, and the way they've done it, they've risen to this place is through having a cohesive vision throughout the entire football club. Everybody pulling in the same direction to achieve the same goal.
True.
And that's what they did. And that's what makes them so dangerous to a team like us, who's in complete disarray. And then they just absolutely got blown away by Chelsea, just like we did, 3-0.
Yeah.
Can't fault them too much for that because Chelsea is the European champion and they look really scary.
And it was at Stamford Bridge, not our home. It was at Stamford Bridge, not the new Tottenham Stadium. So they went away. And let's face it, not a lot of people are going to go to Chelsea apart from people like Man City and get 3 points.
Yeah.
True.
It's a very hard place to win. But they bounced back from that and absolutely smashed Everton the week later, 3-0, back at home. And then the last game this past Saturday, they beat Man U. And, that's impressive. So, honestly, their last 2 games is a 3-0 stomping of Everton and then beating Man U, they're going to be up for it and they're going to be feeling good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Scott M has loss, draw, loss, loss, draw, win. That's what he thinks.
He's got 5 points now. Yeah.
Yeah. So Eugene and I are a little more optimistic. So we were thinking loss to Villa, possibly nick a win up at Newcastle.
Draw. They're our bogey team. It's always a
I
draw.
know.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just trying to be optimistic. I know
bit.
they're our bogey team, but God, we got to at least draw because they're such a terrible football team, honestly. And Steve Bruce is an awful manager. Like I just, man, I'll be so mad if we don't at least walk out with a point. West Ham, I think we all probably agree.
We're not
They're
good enough.
they're miles ahead of us right now.
Against
And
West Ham,
it's
mate,
really
I might go to
embarrassing.
hiding. I might go to hiding because if we lose another London derby with a percent, and I hate saying these words, West Ham. I mean, I watched them against Leeds, and Leeds were playing so well, and they soaked it up, and they soaked it up, they soaked it up, and they are looking very, very hard to beat.
Yeah.
And I'm dreading going to West Ham.
I just can't believe it's gone to this point to where I'm fearing us going to play West Ham.
Yep.
To tell the truth, I'm fearing that we're playing every game, every team, not only West Ham.
But I mean, the West Ham, the bubble men, in the stadium where the fans can hardly see the players on the pitch. It's just a joke.
That'd be them. That'll be them.
And then Man U, it's crazy because, last season around this time of year, we beat them 6-1 at Old Trafford. And here we are now. And it looks impossible for us to take anything out of that match. I mean, they've got Ronaldo, they've got Varane,
Cavani.
It's just
Rashford, Greenwood.
They look
Pogba.
like a proper Manchester United team now. They've got the names in the squad to look like a real Manchester United.
But guys,
team.
they've got Ole though.
Ole.
For all you know, by the time the game that reaches us, right, Ole might have gone into a decline so bad that he could be at the same status as we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then after that, the Everton game, I feel like every time we go to Goodison Park, it's a draw. So I'm just predicting a draw because it seems like it's always a draw when we go to Goodison.
Mate, I'll tell you what. So first of all, Rafa Benitez doing bits.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's frozen. Brian, you're frozen, Brian.
Did we lose him again?
Maybe.
Might have lost him again.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, basically, yeah. Well, 7 points being optimistic, possibly more like 5. It's going to be a tough run. Honestly, I don't want him to go because I know ultimately it's not his fault. But I think the way it's looking is that Nuno probably doesn't make it through.
Yeah.
And
but like I said, by the time those 6 games pass, we'll be reaching close to November.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to November.
Yeah. So
for all you know, right, in the next 3 matches or 4 matches in the Premier League, if we don't get the results, you might not even be here.
Yeah,
for all you know.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Oh, we got him back.
Right, so I do apologise. We've had another power cut, but then I realised, wait a minute, I've got mobile data on my phone.
Yeah.
Fucking power cuts, you can't screw me. So, yeah, as I was saying about Everton, Rafa Benitez is doing bits. And I went on a few channels. I know I was on the Irish Hotspur when I said this as well. And Jack was like, he didn't agree with me. But I said, and I've been saying for ages, I want Damari Gray at Tottenham Hotspur. I want Damari Gray at Tottenham Hotspur.
We've missed him for so many times.
1 point. Mate, if you and me, Eugene, were to play a game of how many times have we been linked and how many times we missed a player, you and me would be here till New Year. So Everton is not an easy place to go to. Everton is never. So I'm not even sure there. Everton and Andros Townsend is there, and Charlton, and then what's his name? Calvin Fit. What's his name?
DCL.
DCL. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be up there, mate. I'm petrified to go to Everton. Petrified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think by the time DCL, I think he's injured now, right? I think by the time
at the moment it was his toe.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly going to be a. I can't see it being a long term.
Yeah, he should be back soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
probably
and Brian, you brought up that.
Yeah, just in time for Tottenham.
Yeah. And Brian, you brought up that Damari Gray signing for Everton. I couldn't believe it. 1.7 million pounds is the reported fee.
1.75 million pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
How could we not get on that? A player with Premier League experience has scored goals in the Premier League. It's baffling to me that we missed out on that.
I'll tell you why. Because we were linked with him for so long at a bigger amount, and it's all hot air. And then when he becomes available at a cheaper value, I mean, so cheap that this guy would easily pay it, we might actually get him. We might actually get him. So we can't do that. We can't do that. Why take the risk of what? It's wake up. People need to wake up. That's why.
Brian, no, you know why? Too cheap. Commissions are not flowing enough.
Yeah, probably. I won't get big enough. I won't get. The sad thing is, all what we're saying is true.
Yeah,
that's how sad it is.
Yeah.
But back to the fixtures. Everton is not going to be an easy place at all.
Yeah. And then the final one is Leeds, back at the Lane.
Thank God it's at the Lane at least.
Yeah, because Ellen Road gets absolutely, now that they've got their fans back in the stadium. Ellen Road seems like a terrifying place to go play. It is crazy how loud they get up in Leeds.
Yeah,
Yep, I've been to Ellen Road. Ellen Road is a very hostile place, like we saw with Wolves away the first game. But you got to remember, Leeds had their first year in the Premiership last season and they never got to go.
Yeah.
So they are making up big time for lost time. So it is going to be a terrible, hostile, and it's one of the worst away trips, like for a team, just because of the way Leeds are another one, like the Newcastles, where they're a one city team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's literally such a big thing.
Yeah,
and
true.
It's always going to be a hard fixture there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at least this one, the first, this one we're looking at, this is at the Lane. I think honestly, Leeds, out of every team in the Premier League, I think they might be the one, aside from maybe Norwich, I would be most confident about beating, simply because we know Marcelo Bielsa plays one way. He does not compromise. And we know that Nuno's style of play is perhaps the only kind this is the only team that he's well suited to play against. Because we can play counter-attacking football against Leeds. It will work.
Hopefully.
We've shown it before.
That's if he's there.
Yeah.
That's if Nuno's still there.
That's if he's still there. But then, this is what we're assuming, that he gets, these next 6 games to prove himself. I mean, he might not make it to the 6th game if we've dropped, 4 out of the 5 before then. And that's it's right now. We just don't know, and it looks like all 6 of those games look scary. But especially West Ham away, Man U at home, and Villa this weekend. All 3 of those games, I just don't see us any way we can walk out of those 3 games with any points.
Yeah.
Good times. Well, at least as it is, do you know what? I used to hate the international breaks, and now I beg for them to come.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It shouldn't be like this, but
exactly.
Hopefully, hopefully we've talked about it today. there's a lot of rumblings in the media. There's rumblings on social media among the fans, and not just guys like the three of us here who have been on the Levy out, Enoch out bandwagon. There's rumbling amongst the rest of the fans that they don't want they can't tolerate this any longer. That things need to change. That we need something from the board. The supporters trust, regardless of how much faith you have in them or not. Have said that they're going to call for a meeting with the board, and we'll see what happens.
Smoke and mirrors again.
Smoke, yeah, but pressure is mounting. That is one thing we can tell for sure. Pressure is mounting around the club from all angles, from the fans and from the media, as well as the supporters' stress. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to let you guys plug your channels and any other causes or anything else you want to draw attention to. And I'll go ahead and go with you first, Brian, since you jumped on first.
Okay, dokie. Thank you very much, sir. So always a pleasure, Kieran. Everyone helped get Spurs After Dark up. You know, Spurs After the Dark, early in the morning, daylight, almost coming dark. So, but it's a great channel. Kieran's a great guy, so everyone give the support. You can find me at Tottenham on Tour with my fellow Canadian, or I say fellow Canadian. I'm almost Canadian. I get my citizenship when I get back, or I can apply for it. But yeah, Tottenham on Tour. And also the groups you need to check out. I'm part of a group, or two groups now, where we are the information, or we are planning the protest. I wouldn't say we are planning the protest, but we have a protest planned that I have been banging on about for ages. And there may be other protest groups, I don't know, but we are gathering pace. The main one, the father of the umbrella, or the parent company, whatever you want to call it, or the parent group, is To Dare is Too Dear. That's the Twitter handle. To Dare is Too Dear. And there was a second one that we launched the day, either early morning yesterday UK time or late last night after the filth. And we've already got over 1,300 followers. And it's called @Change for Spurs. So the @ Change for Spurs, where we've put a couple of statements out. We've put our intentions out. And obviously, we've put a response to the Supporters Trust. Conveniently, all of a sudden, having this thing come out and say, do you know what? Coincidence? Yeah, well, we'll see. But we are trying. So for me, it's Tottenham on Tour, where if you want anti-Levy content, I am the home of anti-Levy. I am the face of anti-Levy. I'm not stopping. I don't care if my dying breath has to be me saying Levy out. I am not stopping until it happens. You can find me at Tottenham on Tour, and pretty much I go on all the other channels as well. But the two Twitter handles you really need to follow is @Change for Spurs and @To Dare is Too Dear. But everyone like Spurssuasion and Spurs After Dark as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Right, and you can find me on Spurssuasion TV. Right, I do the Asian Spurs fans community channel. I'm having a show this Wednesday coming out about 2:30 p.m. GMT with some of the India Spurs boy. And if I'm not mistaken, Kim B and Arthur will be on too.
Okay.
Okay. Brian's going to join. And Kieran, if you have time, join us. And please subscribe, smash the like and notification button. Right, to Spurssuasion, to Spurs After Dark, and to Tottenham Tour.
We still trying to get used to it, can we?
We're too old, Brian, and can't get used to that, the left and the right thing.
Brian,
but guys, thanks for having me on, Kieran, today.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you on, Eugene. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And you too, Brian. It's always a pleasure to have both of you. You guys are two of the best in the business. And good having you on. Mark Swift shouting out to you. Brian says you look like CM Punk, I guess, in the hoodie.
Oh, mate, the cult of personality. It's clobbering time. Big up Mark Smith. I love that dude. He's always in the comments. He came on one of the streams on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
I've been called a few things, but CM Punk, do you know what? I'm kind of liking that now. I can't get cult of personality out of my head.
Yep.
All right. And well, so that'll do it for the three of us here. I'm Kieran. This has been Spurs After Dark. Please hit a like, hit a subscribe, and more than that, I know that you guys who watch Mark Swift, Scott M, I know you guys are in the comment sections of the other channels, so like David the Irish Hotspur or Will Stewart or any of those. It would mean a lot to me if when you're in those channels, when you're in the comments section, you're talking with the other fans, mention my channel. Just bring it up. Hey, have you seen this guy? Have you seen his channel? Go over, give it a look, and encourage them to hit a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And as always, you can find me here. You can find me on Will Stewart's HFC rants. You can find me occasionally on Persuasion TV, and hopefully soon we'll be able to link up with Brian and the other Brian back in Canada on Tottenham on tour.
Yeah, you will.
But for now, take it easy, guys. Stay.
One, two.
Stay. Yeah. Leave you out.
Leave you
Enoch
out.
Leave you out.
Leave you out. Leave you out. Leave you out. Leave you out.
Leave you out. Leave you out.
Every day is leave you out day.
Leave you out day.
All
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Leave you out.